Welcome back, everyone. It is Wellness Wednesday. That means GI physicians in with us today. Denise and Cindy Fleming make return appearance. Okay, so last time we talked about constipation. We're going to the opposite end of the spectrum today. We're talking diarrhea. First of all, what is it?
All right, well, thanks for letting us come back again
Sure, you
today.
came back. Yes, that's great.
Back. So diarrhea is, most people know what it is, but it's loose, watery stools. It's usually, it's common, usually not serious. You can have increased volume of stools. You can have 3, 4 or more episodes of these watery stools a day. Usually we kind of talk about it being either acute or chronic. So acute, the symptoms will usually go away within 3 to 4 weeks on their own. You can get that from infection. Sometimes your body just clears the infection, the symptoms clear up. You can get it from different foods that you've eaten, alcohol consumption, high fatty foods, high sugary drinks or foods, and even additives like MSG in our food. Chronic diarrhea then is greater than 4 weeks. That's when we would usually, patients by that point are usually fed up. They usually go to a provider, whether it's us or their family doctor, just to try to find the cause and also prevent complications from the diarrhea. You can also have acute on chronic diarrhea, which is almost like a post-infectious type thing. We see that sometimes with C. diff. Someone will just still continue to have the chronic diarrhea even after the infection is gone. You can get it from toxoplasmosis, amoebiosis, giardiosis, and then we'll talk about it a little bit later too, but you can even get it when you've had your gallbladder removed because you've removed part of your digestive system, and people can have chronic diarrhea from that as well.
Everybody's had the issue. She brought up some of the, it's amazing to me how many times alcohol is involved in some of these problems, but is that one of the causes? That's, there's a whole list of causes,
There's a whole list of causes. So contrary to what some think, although diarrhea may run in the genes, it is not hereditary.
Run in the genes. She's got diarrhea jokes. I was hoping for that today. Okay.
So acute causes of diarrhea would be like the flu or getting COVID or intestinal viruses or even alcohol abuse. Or like it was a month ago, we had the peanut butter contaminated and then the lettuce contaminated. Those can cause acute diarrhea. And then for chronic conditions that cause diarrhea would be like allergies to food, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, and even cancers. We can place these into 2 categories, so osmotic and secretory diarrhea. Osmotic is where the non-electrolyte substances, such as sugars, sorbitol, fibers, and alcohols, are poorly absorbed and they stay in the intestines. Lactate deficiency, malabsorption, or poorly absorbed magnesium and phosphates also contribute to osmotic diarrhea. And then too much caffeine, such as found in pop, and coffee and some teas, activates the stimulants that
I might be in trouble there.
that cause diarrhea. And then reducing the intake of these should be considered when a lot is consumed and diarrhea is a concern. And then with secretory diarrhea, that's when electrolytes and fluids are inadequately absorbed. So some causes would include toxins like insecticides or psychedelic mushrooms, arsenic and lead, stimulant laxatives, and endocrine conditions such as hyperthyroidism because it increases the intestinal motility. And then bile acid malabsorption can also cause urgency to go to the bathroom and incontinence.
Wow, it's amazing how many things can cause. You mentioned infections, and there are type of infections that cause problems, right?
Yep, so you can have acute infections. You can even get it from someone else, passing of all these germs and get things like that. Like she talked about there, you can have contaminated water, contaminated lettuce. The peanut butter that was recently recalled was for salmonella. That can cause diarrhea and even some blood in the stool. Improperly preserved cheese can cause listeria. Listeria can appear even as appendicitis or Crohn's because it affects the terminal ileum. That's more on the right side where the small bowel is emptying into the colon. So sometimes people can have symptoms more in that right lower quadrant. You can get it from improperly cooked beef and pork. You can end up with E. coli. And E. coli is the most common cause of kidney failure in children. Also, if you like to take your kids to a petting zoo, you're a little bit higher risk for Campylobacter and Salmonella, so it's always good to make sure that they wash their hands with soap and water very well. Those 2 issues can actually lead to inflammatory arthritis, which would cause a lot of joint pain, and even Guillain-Barré. And then also, like, we'll see people that have traveled to another country and the water is contaminated with E. coli, so they can end up with traveler's diarrhea.
Wow, there's all kinds of things that can cause it. Next time, we'll talk a little bit more about the treatment, when to go to you guys. So thank you so much.
Yes,
we appreciate
thank you.
Good seeing you. Now go ahead, we'll be back after this.